Okay, let's create the fourth option, which is removing a contact. Let's do that in another method. Let's minimize this method for now. And down in here, let's create a private static void remove contact. In here, first of all, I need to receive the name of that contact. So let's say enter the contact's name. Let's also save the contact's name, scanner.next. Let's create a for loop and look for that contact. This time I'm going to create a for each loop for contact inside my contacts array list. If the contact dot get name, if it is equal to the contact name that user has entered, I'm going to show a message to the user and ask if he or she is sure of removing this contact. Let's save the user's answer, scanner.next. If answer dot equals, there are two methods in here, equals and equals ignore case. I'm going to use the second one. It will ignore the case sensitivity of the user's answer. If it is equal to yes or y in this case, then remove that contact. I can say contacts dot remove the contact that we are looking at. Else if answer dot equals ignore case to no, we are simply going to our initial options. Also, I need to call that method from here. And else, in case the user enters something beside this y or n, I'm going to navigate the user to initial options as well. It's also useful to show a message in here to tell the user the contact has been removed successfully. So let's do that. This was the case that we found a contact with the name that user has entered. Let's create a boolean up in here for the same reason that we created in our search for contact method. Boolean does exist. Initialize it to false. And in case we found that contact, first of all, let's change its value to true. And outside of the for loop, let's see where it finishes. Down in here, if it does not in our array list, then let's show a message. And let's say there is no such contact. And after that, let's go to our initial options. Okay, I think that's enough for this method. The fifth option was to go back, which I can call my init options method. It also may be useful to put it in here in this default option, because the user might enter some invalid number, so we could navigate the user back to this initial options. Okay, that's all we need for managing the contacts. Let's handle the sending a message. Let's do that in another method. Let's create that method down in here. In here, first of all, we are going to ask who is the user trying to send a message. We need to save the contact name. After that, we need to make sure that that contact exists in our contacts list. Once again, let's create a boolean. Does exist is equal to false. And let's create our for loop. For contact inside my contacts array list. If contact.getName.equals the contact name that we just received. First of all, let's change the value of that boolean to true, and after that we need to receive the message that user is trying to send to that contact. We need to save the user's answer. Let's say string text is equal to scanner.next. Now that we have both the name of the contact and also the text, let's create our message object. But if you remember, we had an ID and I said it's going to be auto-incremental. How can we handle the auto-incremental situation? Well, I can define an integer and a static integer up in here. Let's say private static int called ID, initialize it to 0. And later on, inside this method, when I'm going to create my message object, I can say ID++. This way, whenever we try to send a new message, this ID would increment. Okay, I can say message, new message is equal to a new message. Let's see what we need in here. Text, receiver, and ID. I can say text, contact name, or contact.getName to be accurate, and also the ID. Now that I have the message object, I can receive the message array list of that contact by saying array list of message, let's call it messages, is equal to contact.getMessages. After that, I can say messages.add our new message. Now that we have the new array list, I can say contact.set messages, this one down in here, to new messages. This way we are updating the contact's messages. Also, I need to update the contact's array list itself because we have added a message to the contact and this is a new object. For that, first of all, I'm going to save this contact. Let's say new contact is equal to contact itself. And after that, let's remove the former contact from our array list and add this one. I can say contacts.remove our contact object. After that, contacts.add our new contact. We are updating both of those array lists, both the messages array list for the contact and the contact inside the contacts array list. After everything, I need to go to the initial options once again. And outside of the for loop, I need to check if that contact does not exist in our array list. I'm going to print a message. Just simply say there is no such contact. And after that, we are going to go to initial options. Okay, that's all we need inside this method. Let's see what else do we have. The third option is quitting, which I'm not going to do anything. In fact, if we don't do anything, it will break out of this switch statement and the application would be closed. I think our application is ready to test, so let's test it. We have our greeting message and also the initial options. That's fine. Let's enter 1. We have the options for managing the contacts. Let's show all the contacts, which should be empty for now. We are navigating back to the initial options. That seems fine. Let's add a new contact. 2. Enter contact's name, let's say Maysam. Enter contact's number, let's add an integer. And email, let's say maysam@makecode.org. Okay, that seems fine. Let's show all the contacts. You can see the Maysam's details. Once again, manage contacts. Let's search for a contact. Who are you looking for? Let's say Maysam. And the details about that contact. That seems fine. Let's add another contact. Let's say Sarah this time. Enter Sarah's number and Sarah's email. let's check if it has been added to our array list. It seems okay. Let's try removing one of these contacts. The fourth option, let's enter Maysam. Are you sure you want to remove Maysam? Let's enter Y in lower cases. Maysam has been removed successfully, and if we want to check all the contacts, you can see that only Sarah exists in our array list. Let's also check the fifth option, which is going back. If I enter 5, it will navigate us back to this page, to initial options. Let's try sending a message. Who are you going to send a message? Let's enter Maysam in here. We know that we don't have such contact. There is no such contact. Let's try it once again. Sarah this time. What are you going to say? Let's say hello, Sarah. And it seems that we have sent the message. It's also useful to show a message in here indicating that we have sent the message successfully. I will add it later on, but for now, let's just try the third option, which is quitting the application. 3. We have finished our application successfully. Let's add that message after sending a message. Inside this if statement, before initial options, I can say a message has been successfully sent. The message with the message text has been sent to the contact's name. Let's check if it's working. But if I try showing all my contacts, you can see that the array list is empty, and that's because we are using the array list to save the contacts. And that's because the life of array list is only whenever our application is running. If you want to save permanent data, you can use databases both locally on the user's device and also in the cloud. We will be talking about both of those in future videos, but for now we just wanted to have our little challenge. Okay, let's add a contact, enter contact's name, number, and email, maysam@maycode.org. Okay, let's try sending a message. I'm trying to send that to Maysam. Let's say hello Maysam. Has been sent to Maysam. Seems fine. This was the solution for our challenge. If you solved it correctly, congratulate yourself. It was relatively complex one. Also, I will upload the source code for this application at both my GitHub page and also my website at the links that you can see on the screen. Feel free to check them if you need. Okay, this session is done. In the next session, we will talk about user interface, and we will learn how to create interactive applications in the Android Studio environment. See you in the next video.